Am I the antagonist for calling out my coworker to our manager? I, 34 years old female, have been working with Ashley, 43 years old female, for 4.5 years. Generally, we have a good relationship, but she tends to be very lazy. Most days, she spends her time at her desk on her phone, either texting or on FaceTime with her husband. She takes extremely long lunches lasting 2.5 hours, arrives no earlier than 9:30 and leaves around 2:45. As equals, I don't say anything, but our manager, who is in a different state, is fully aware of her behavior as the company tracks badge swipes and log-in, log-off times. She also serves as my backup when I'm out of the office for personal time off or sick days. Last Thursday and Friday, I was off work. When I returned on Monday, I found that my work area was completely disorganized. Since I start at 7 a.m., I had a solid 2 hours to clean up and get back on track. Fixing the mistakes made by someone else in the tech department is an absolute nightmare. To update our manager, I sent him an email explaining what had happened and what needed to be done. I mentioned that it would likely take the entire day to correct everything. He assured me that it was fine and that it would be dealt with. The moment Ashley walked into the office, she started telling me an untrue story about the servers going down and how she couldn't manage my tasks. I acknowledged that a lot of work hadn't been done while I was out and that I had already begun fixing the errors. However, Ashley raised her voice and became unpleasant towards me in front of around 60 people on the floor. I did my best to stay calm and informed her that it wasn't as big of a crisis as she was making it out to be. I asked her to leave my office so that I could focus. She disappeared for about an hour, missing 2 meetings she was supposed to attend. When she returned, she angrily slammed things on her desk, sighed heavily, and basically sulked the entire day. Other team members approached me afterward to ask if I was okay, after witnessing her outburst. I reassured them that I was fine and suggested they let it go. Yesterday, my manager invited me to join a Zoom call. It turned out that someone had reported Ashley's behavior to him in the HR department, and he wanted me to provide details about what had happened. I explained the situation as described above, and he assured me that he would handle it. Later that afternoon, while Ashley was talking loudly on her cell phone with her earbuds in, everyone heard her part of the conversation. I can't remember exactly what she said, but she called me an asshole for reporting her to our manager and HR. She also blamed me for causing the current situation due to the way I used my paid time off. I want to clarify that I did not go to HR. Instead, I opted for petty revenge. I'll detail it in another post once she finds out next month. The only thing I emailed my manager about was that 2 days' worth of work remained untouched, leading to skewed data. I explained that I would spend Monday catching up on everything. Am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist for this? You are not the asshole in this situation. Ashley's laziness and lack of professionalism caused the mess while you were out of the office. You had every right to inform your manager about what happened and ask for support in resolving the issue. It was not your fault that someone else reported Ashley's behavior to HR, and her reaction of calling you an asshole shows her lack of accountability for her own actions. However, resorting to petty revenge may not be the most productive way to handle the situation. It is better to let your manager and HR handle the issue. Am I the antagonist for having a special relationship with my brother? So I'm a 20-year-old female and my brother is 17 years old, almost 18. We've always been very close. Our parents never really took care of us, and I became his full-time caretaker when I was 9 years old because before that, our grandparents looked after us. After we moved away, I took on the responsibility of raising him. I made sure he studied, ate, took baths, and so on. It meant sacrificing my own childhood to take care of my parents' child, but I would do it again if given the chance. I'm grateful to have him in my life, and I'm glad our parents didn't raise him because they did a terrible job with me. I can't say this openly because they will delete my post, but I'm relieved that they decided to spare him from the trauma and left him alone. Years later, my brother came to my room one night and we had a heartfelt conversation. He thanked me for making his childhood amazing, even though I had to give up mine to do so. He expressed deep love for me and appreciated that I took care of him, even when I was just a child myself. He told me that when we're old enough, we will live together, and I promised him that. He feels that now that he's older and stronger, he regularly goes to the gym. He will protect me because he knows I've been hurt before. True to my promise, when I turned 18, I left the house and took him with me a few months prior, despite our parents' objections. We now live together. The problem is my boyfriend of 1 year, who finds our living arrangement creepy and thinks I should leave my brother with our parents. He believes that after 1 year of dating, we should prioritize being together as a couple and not the 3 of us. I told him that won't happen and he needs to respect my brother. We had a lengthy argument and he eventually left. Some of my friends also find it strange that I bring my brother almost everywhere, but we spend a lot of time together because we're very close. My brother feels sad because of all this, and I'm just angry. I'm not sure if I went too far with the protection aspect, but I believe it's the right thing to do. So, am I the asshole? It sounds like you have had a difficult past and have been there for your brother when he needed you most. Your relationship with your brother is based on love, trust, and a shared history, and it is perfectly normal for siblings to be close. Your boyfriend should understand and respect the bond you have with your brother, especially considering the circumstances. It is unfair for him to ask you to choose between him and your brother. Your friend's opinions may be influenced by societal norms, but as long as your relationship with your brother is healthy and both of you are happy, there is nothing wrong with being close. Am I the antagonist for kicking my sister's kid out of my wedding reception? My husband, 31, and I, 34, got married in August of 2020. My sister, 32, was my matron of honor, and her daughter, my niece, who was 7 at the time, was one of the flower girls. Her husband was supposed to come along to help with their other 2 kids, aged 13 and 6, but he chose not to take a day off work. Many things went wrong surrounding our wedding, such as having to find a new venue within 3 months and the cake not being ready. However, I tried my best to handle everything calmly and not become a bridezilla. The day before the wedding, my sister showed up at the cabin and kept my husband and me up until 1 a.m. We were trying to sleep as we were exhausted from last-minute preparations, but she didn't take the hint. Everyone has their limits, and though I love my nephews dearly, they can sometimes be overwhelming. My older nephew, whom we'll call K, made offensive and disturbing comments to my friends when neither my sister nor I were around. His younger brother, whom we'll call E, told my new mother-in-law to F off. He used the actual word, when she politely asked him to stop bothering her dog. What's worse, he attempted to play with an axe at the cabin during the reception, which we had rented for our honeymoon week. When I told him he couldn't play with it, he insisted he could. I explained that it wasn't ours and we were liable for any damages since we were renting the place for our wedding. I tried to be understanding since they live on a farm, and E might be allowed to handle tools at home or at his grandparents', but it wasn't the right time or place for it. My husband also grew frustrated, and eventually, I had to inform my sister that E had to go home due to his behavior. I allowed my niece and other nephew to stay, but E's behavior was out of hand. This upset my sister, and she has held a grudge for the past 3 years. Although she's civil towards me, I've heard from others that she's still bitter about being excluded from the reception. Our communication has also significantly lessened. I felt awful at the time, and I still feel guilty for telling my sister that E had to leave. I didn't ask her and the other kids to leave, and her husband could have picked up E since he chose not to come and help her, despite being responsible for the kids as well. E has always struggled with boundaries and has some more serious behavioral issues that my sister fails to acknowledge. K was disappointed too, as he wanted to go camping, but he probably didn't realize that he wouldn't be able to camp outside our 1-bedroom cabin on our wedding night. Awkward. Am I wrong for excluding my nephew from the reception? Your sister's request for your late daughter's blanket and dresses is insensitive and disrespectful of your grief and loss. It is understandable that you and your wife have kept these items as mementos and as a way to honor your daughter's memory. Your sister should have recognized the sentimental value and emotional attachment to these items. Your sister's attempts to guilt-trip and manipulate both you and your wife are unfair and uncalled for. Bringing up your daughter's memory and comparing it to her own daughter is hurtful and only adds to your pain. It is also unreasonable for her to expect you to prioritize her desires over your own grief and the memory of your daughter. Furthermore, the strained relationship between your sister and your grandmother should not be a factor in this discussion. It is your decision whether or not to give these items to your sister, and she should respect your choice without involving others or causing unnecessary drama. Overall, you have every right to protect your own emotional well-being and honor your daughter's memory in the way that feels right for you. Your sister's request was insensitive and her actions were manipulative, making you not the asshole in this situation. Am I the antagonist for refusing to help my mother because of her previous statements? I'm a 22-year-old female, and I have an older sister who is 29 years old. My sister has always been intelligent and was able to establish a successful small business that earned a solid profit on her own. In 2020 to 2021, her business made up to $200,000 per year, while in prior years it made around $100,000 to $150,000. Due to her success, my sister earned more money than my dad and was able to provide financial support for our entire family from the age of 21, 22. However, about a year ago, my sister faced heavy debts when her business failed due to the Russian war. She started borrowing and gambling money to conceal her debt, which only caused her debts to increase. Even my dad, mom, and I were forced to loan money to help her pay off her debts, and we even risked losing our apartment, which belonged to my sister and was under threat of repossession. This sudden crisis plunged us into severe financial problems that lasted for half of 2022 and the first half of 2023. Eventually, we had to close the business entirely. Throughout this time, my mom was always kind to me and emphasized that I was her only hope. Moved by her words, I tearfully promised to do everything I could to help them overcome their debts. I started searching for a job in the spring and experienced constant stress. Fortunately, my sister found a way to resolve her situation and was able to send us thousands of dollars as financial assistance. However, over time, my mother began to ignore me. When I tried to hug her, she would react rudely, telling me to back off. This deeply hurt me, but the most painful words she spoke were around 6 weeks ago when she said, "You will never compare to your sister. She always helped us, but you? Nothing. I felt constantly mistreated by her. It suddenly occurred to me that her displays of kindness from the previous year were simply attempts to shift her problems onto me, hoping I would solve them for her. Coming to the present week, another issue came up, and my sister abruptly stopped sending money. Today, my mom informed me that we are facing financial difficulties again, although I hope my sister hasn't fallen back into debt or taken out any microcredits. My mom started ranting about my sister once more and then told me that I need to start looking for another job. Recalling how I had been treated all this time, I responded by saying, "Yes, of course. I will find a job and start looking soon. However, don't expect me to support you and give you my entire salary. You once said I can never compare to my sister, and I don't even aspire to be like her, so stop speaking ill of her." After expressing my thoughts, I left. My mom became angry and shouted that if that's the case, I should move out. I replied, "You won't be able to manipulate me again. Fool me twice, shame on me, as the saying goes. Your problems are for you to deal with." Before assumptions are made, I want to clarify that I have a very warm relationship with my sister. We have never competed or quarreled with each other. The competition aspect only exists in my mom's imaginative mind, where everyone desires to be the one who pleases her the most. This post is brief, and I couldn't mention many important details due to the character limit of 3,000. You had valid reasons for kicking your nephew out of the reception. His behavior was inappropriate and disrespectful, not only towards your guests, but also towards your new mother-in-law and the property you rented. It's understandable that you didn't want any further damage to occur or any more chaos caused by his actions. Your sister's husband could have picked up their son since he decided not to come and help in the first place. Additionally, you allowed your niece and other nephew to stay, showing that you were not completely unreasonable. It's unfortunate that your sister is still holding a grudge, but you shouldn't feel guilty for maintaining boundaries and ensuring a safe and enjoyable atmosphere for your wedding. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister-in-law she's no longer invited in our house? I am a 22-year-old female, and I have an older sister who is 29 years old. My sister has always been intelligent and was able to establish a successful small business that earned a solid profit on her own. In 2020 to 2021, her business made up to $200,000 per year, while in prior years, it made around $100,000 to $150,000. Due to her success, my sister earned more money than my dad and was able to provide financial support for our entire family from the age of 21, 22. However, about a year ago, my sister faced heavy debts when her business failed due to the Russian war. She started borrowing and gambling money to conceal her debt, which only caused her debts to increase. Even my dad, mom, and I were forced to loan money to help her pay off her debts, and we even risked losing our apartment, which belonged to my sister and was under threat of repossession. This sudden crisis plunged us into severe financial problems that lasted for half of 2022 and the first half of 2023. Eventually, we had to close the business entirely. Throughout this time, my mom was always kind to me and emphasized that I was her only hope. Moved by her words, I tearfully promised to do everything I could to help them overcome their debts. I started searching for a job in the spring and experienced constant stress. Fortunately, my sister found a way to resolve her situation and was able to send us thousands of dollars as financial assistance. However, over time, my mother began to ignore me. When I tried to hug her, she would react rudely, telling me to back off. This deeply hurt me, but the most painful words she spoke were around 6 weeks ago when she said, "You will never compare to your sister. She always helped us, but you? Nothing." I felt constantly mistreated by her. It suddenly occurred to me that her displays of kindness from the previous year were simply attempts to shift her problems onto me, hoping I would solve them for her. Coming to the present week, another issue came up, and my sister abruptly stopped sending money. Today, my mom informed me that we are facing financial difficulties again, although I hope my sister hasn't fallen back into debt or taken out any microcredits. My mom started ranting about my sister once more, and then told me that I need to start looking for another job. Recalling how I had been treated all this time, I responded by saying, "Yes, of course. I will find a job and start looking soon. However, don't expect me to support you and give you my entire salary. You once said I can never compare to my sister, and I don't even aspire to be like her, so stop speaking ill of her." After expressing my thoughts, I left. My mom became angry and shouted that if that's the case, I should move out. I replied, "You won't be able to manipulate me again. Fool me twice, shame on me, as the saying goes. Your problems are for you to deal with." Before assumptions are made, I want to clarify that I have a very warm relationship with my sister. We have never competed or quarreled with each other. The competition aspect only exists in my mom's imaginative mind, where everyone desires to be the one who pleases her the most. Your mother and sister have been taking advantage of your kindness and willingness to help. It's not fair for them to expect you to solve their financial problems or compare you to your sister. You deserve to be treated with respect and not used as a tool to fix their mistakes. It's understandable that you are frustrated and hurt by their behavior. You have every right to set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. Moving out may be a good step for you to establish your independence and distance yourself from their toxic dynamics. It's important to prioritize your own mental and financial health. Focus on finding a job that suits your needs and future aspirations. Don't let their manipulative behavior dictate your choices. Aita for not telling my estranged sister I eloped. I, a 26-year-old woman, have always had difficult relationships with my two older biological sisters. I was taken away from my family when I was 10 years old, which prevented me from fully bonding with them. We will refer to them as Ren, who is 31 years old, and Buzz, who is 27 years old. For a long time, they would create drama because I had a safer and more protected life after being taken away at such a young age. However, I never saw myself as different from them. Whenever I would try to help them with their problems, they would accuse me of pitying them, so I eventually stopped. I stopped sharing information about myself and cut off contact with them because it was better for my own well-being. Recently, my sister Buzz reached out to me, expressing her desire to reconnect. She has two beautiful children whom I have come to love, and we have set clear boundaries to maintain a strong connection. Buzz has grown as a person after having her own family, but my other sister, Ren, has not changed and is still following the path of our biological parents. In an effort to distance myself from that past, I explained to Ren that it is difficult for me to watch her throw her life away. Although I am no longer close to Ren, I still wished her a happy birthday on October 12th. She thanked me and moved on. My now husband, a 30-year-old man, and I have always considered Friday the 13th to be a lucky day for us. We had always said that we would get married on October 13th. Since we recently got engaged and already had a small vacation planned, we decided to seize the opportunity and elope on Friday the 13th. We informed my husband's family, my foster family, and my sister Buzz figured it out from our conversations. I admitted that we eloped but decided to keep it a secret because we cherished that date and knew it wouldn't fall on a Friday the 13th every year. We had planned to have a wedding in 2025 to save money, but did not want to be engaged for 2 years. Buzz was happy for us and even referred to my husband as her favorite brother-in-law. However, my husband wanted to announce our elopement, and I agreed. It wouldn't be fair to ask him to keep it a secret for 2 years. I agreed to this, but suggested that we write a comprehensive post to inform people that we eloped, while also letting them know that we still plan to have a wedding in 2025, and that everyone close to us was invited. Everyone was excited and happy for us. Except now my sister Ren is angry that I didn't inform her before we eloped. I explained to her that we weren't that close, and she never initiated conversations about her life, so I assumed she didn't care. She is making a big deal out of it because we eloped the day after her birthday and did not bother to inform her. Am I the asshole for not telling her, even though we have little communication? She never mentioned that she is currently pregnant or that she had been in a car accident until she threw both of these things in my face now because I didn't reach out to her. Am I the asshole? You made it clear that you and Ren are not close, and she doesn't communicate with you about her life. Therefore, it was reasonable for you to assume she wouldn't be interested or affected by your elopement. Additionally, you had already set boundaries with her and had limited contact due to the toxic nature of your relationship. It's unfortunate that Ren chose to bring up her pregnancy and car accident as a means to guilt you into feeling bad, especially since she never mentioned them before. It seems like she's trying to manipulate the situation and turn it into a woe is me scenario rather than genuinely expressing concern or disappointment. You have every right to celebrate your special day in the way that you and your husband wanted without having to cater to Ren's expectations or demands. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.